If you've recently been laid off, or you're staring down a transition you didn't choose, the pressure to act fast can be overwhelming. Update the resume, apply to jobs, reach out to everyone you know, take action, any action, just to feel like you're doing something. But here's the truth most people don't realize. The urge to act fast is strong. But most people don't realize they're setting themselves back with mistakes that feel productive, but quietly sabotage their next move. So if you've already started scrambling or you're about to, pause. Because what you do next matters more than your resume. It shapes your confidence, your clarity, and your path forward. And in this episode, we are talking about the 7 most common mistakes people make after a layoff, so you can avoid the spiral and start making power moves instead. Have you ever wondered, is this it? That question is the beginning of your next success. I'm Dr. Carolyn Sangal, and this podcast is your space to pause, reflect, and create the career and life you were made for. We explore real stories, intentional transitions, and practical insights to help you step into alignment, purpose, and peace. This is your next success, and I'm Dr. Carolyn Sangal. In this episode, we're digging into the 7 most common mistakes people make after a layoff. Mistakes that feel productive in the moment, but can quietly sabotage your confidence, clarity, and next opportunity. You'll learn how to spot desperation disguising itself as diligence, why resume revamp can backfire if done too soon, the subtle mistake that made one brilliant candidate seem shady in interviews, and how to course correct now before you waste time or settle for less. Most people think the first thing you should do after a layoff is take action, update the resume, fire off applications, get moving, because action means progress, right? But what if that's the biggest lie you've been sold? What if rushing into action isn't actually smart? It's a stress response. What if all that doing is actually hiding the fact that you don't know where you're going? Let's call this what it is. Panic productivity. It feels like control, but it is fear disguised as motion. It's like getting dropped into a haunted maze. No map, no flashlight. Doors slam behind you, shadows move, your chest tightens, and your brain screams, "Go! Move! Anywhere but here!" And so you start running. Left, right, backtrack. And you try again, and you hit wall after wall, and you start to feel it. Exhausted. Lost. No closer to getting out. That's what post-layoff urgency feels like. You're not navigating, you're reacting. You are sprinting on instinct, hoping speed will save you. And I say this with love because I've been there. Here's the truth. The layoff wasn't your failure. But what comes next? That's the part that decides whether you find the exit or keep circling in the dark. So what if the real power move is to pause? Not forever, just long enough to recalibrate, to ask better questions, to understand what actually happened and what you truly want. That's what this episode is here for, to walk you through common post-layoff mistakes, the ones that no one warns you about, to help you pause with purpose, so your next move is aligned, not panicked. So before you apply to another job out of fear, before you let shame or stress drive the wheel, let's slow it down. Because this moment right here might be the first step to choosing a future you don't have to recover from. Let's talk about the 7 most common mistakes people make after a layoff so you can move forward with clarity, confidence, and a whole lot more power. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1, the resume rush revision. What if revising your resume before reflecting is the very thing keeping you invisible? So you get laid off, and you do what everyone says to do. Update your resume. You dig up your old file, the one that got you into the job you just left, and then you tack on your latest title. Maybe you copy and paste a few bullet points from your last job description, what you were supposed to do. You tweak the dates, adjust the formatting. Done, right? And then, nothing. Crickets. Here's the hard truth. Your resume doesn't just document your past, it markets your value. And when you revise it from a place of reaction instead of reflection, you end up reinforcing the version of you that got laid off, not stepping into what's next. That resume, it's safe, it's expected, and it's forgettable. Scott had been with the same company for 12 years. Great title, solid accomplishments. But when the layoff hit, he went into resume autopilot. Updated dates, added his title, dropped in HR-approved bullet points, and then he applied to 20 jobs. And nothing. No callbacks, no interviews, no traction. When we started working together, I asked him, if you could do anything, what would you love to do next? And I also said, what do you want to be known for in your next role? He paused. That question hit him in the gut because he had never asked it. He was trying to fix the past, not design the future. And once he got clarity on the impact he wanted to make, we built a resume from scratch that told the story of where he was going, not where he'd just been. He sent it to 5 jobs, and he heard back from 3. Not because he added more bullet points, but because for the first time, his resume reflected who he was becoming. You can't write a compelling future story while you're still stuck in the last chapter. So before you reformat, realign. Mistake number 2, panic applying and mass submissions. What if sending 100 misaligned applications is what's keeping you from the one yes that changes everything? The pressure builds. Bills, expectations, uncertainty, shame. And so you tell yourself, I just need to get something, anything. And that's how you fall into the panic applying trap. You start scrolling job boards like it's your full-time job, and you hit apply now like it's a slot machine. But you're chasing job titles instead of alignment. You throw your resume at every job that feels familiar, even if it's not actually right. And you tell yourself, I could do anything. But deep down, you know this isn't how your next success begins. It's not strategy. It's survival mode dressed up as productivity. Colt was an engineer, smart, capable, experienced. But when the layoff hit, he panicked, and he applied to 85 jobs. His only filter was engineer. It had to be in the title. He only had 1 screening call, that's it. When I finally got him to slow down, I asked, hey, what kind of engineering actually lights you up? He realized something huge. He was applying to jobs that looked like his past, not ones that matched his future. So we rebuilt his LinkedIn profile. We rewrote his resume with a clear, intentional direction, and that week he applied to 1 job. Just 1. He got a call within 48 hours, interviewed, and landed the offer. Mass applying creates noise. Intentionality cuts through the noise. Employers don't want more, they want a match. Mistake number 3, desperation networking. Networking doesn't work well when it comes from a place of panic. It works when it comes from a place of purpose. You've heard the advice, network, 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 and I'll even tell you that. But if you approach networking with frantic energy, people feel it. If you lead with something along the lines of, I got laid off and I really need a job, instead of curiosity about them or their role, or here's the value I bring, it creates an imbalance. It triggers doubt. And you either end up oversharing too soon, I just got laid off and I'm a wreck, or being too vague, just wanted to connect. Neither one opens doors. Cliff, he had been a biotech executive. He was respected, connected, and reeling from the blow of an unexpected restructure. He started reaching out to former colleagues, peers, acquaintances. But his energy was frantic. He was pitching himself without positioning. He was vague about what he wanted, and people could tell. They weren't rude, they were just evasive. So we paused, regrouped, and I asked him, "What's the core message you want someone to walk away with after talking to you?" And he said, "That I know how to build teams that deliver." And so we built his networking around that. And when he reapproached people with clarity, positioning himself as the leader with vision rather than a candidate with a crisis, everything changed. Introductions came. Conversations opened. And one of those conversations led to a role that aligned with everything he'd been hoping for. People respond to clarity and confidence, even when you're still rebuilding it. Lead with vision, not vacancy. Mistake number 4, getting shady or shaky when you talk about what happened. You don't owe anyone your trauma, but if you get weird about your layoff, other people will too. There is a fine line between oversharing and being evasive, and most people, understandably, wobble on it. You've just gone through something hard. There may be shame, confusion, even grief. And so when someone asks you what happened, you either default to vagueness, "I left to explore new opportunities," get defensive, "It wasn't my fault, they restructured," or get awkwardly cryptic, "A certain condition of employment wasn't met." Here's the truth. Clarity builds trust. Vagueness builds suspicion. And if your story doesn't feel safe to you, it won't feel safe to them. John had been with a government agency for over a decade, but by the time I met him, he was working at a university. When I asked about the transition, he said, "I was let go." "Okay, but why?" I asked gently. "Can you help me understand a little bit more?" He said, "I failed to meet a certain condition of employment." I nearly choked. In my head, in 0.01 nanoseconds, I had already imagined drugs, harassment, fraud, theft. What was it? Because that language, it's the stuff HR writes in legal memos, not the stuff you say in a job interview or a networking call. Eventually, the truth came out. John had gone through a painful divorce, and the financial strain caused him to lose his security clearance, which was required for the role. We worked together to distill it into one honest, clear, human sentence. A divorce led to financial strain. Part of the security clearance renewal process was to check my credit. That was a requirement of my role to have it, and so I transitioned out. And now I'm focused on what's next. Simple, true, safe, and no longer shady. If you can't say it in one honest sentence, you haven't healed yet. Say the truth, then shift forward. Mistake number 5, crowdsourcing and listening to people who care but can't truly guide you. What if the reason you feel more confused is because you're asking for direction from people who've never been where you're going? After a layoff, people often turn to friends, family, mentors, or old colleagues for guidance. It makes sense. You're hurting. You want perspective. But here's what happens. People tell you conflicting things. One says, "It's a numbers game. You have to apply to more jobs." Another says, "No, don't apply to a lot of jobs. Take time off and relax. Enjoy your severance and then just ride out unemployment." Someone else says, "Go back to school." Another, "Get a recruiter." And someone else, "Whatever you do, don't trust recruiters. They are snakes. Use AI for your resume. Don't use AI. You'll sound like everyone else. Start a business. Don't start a business. Just get someone to hire you. Suddenly you're spinning because none of them really know you. Not your dreams, your fears, your potential, your thoughts, your wiring, and what jobs suit you. They don't know what will drain you, and they don't actually understand your pain. A client of mine had over 20 conversations post-layoff with well-meaning people who had never hired, recruited, or supported anyone through a career transition. They all meant well, but the advice was so scattered he stayed second-guessing every step. And he told me I started applying for jobs that they would want for me, not the ones that I actually wanted. Now, once we cut that noise and created a plan that was rooted in his own alignment, the fog lifted. He got a role that none of those people would have pointed him to, but that felt like home to him. Just because someone loves you doesn't mean they're equipped to guide you. Take in the input, but only act on advice from people who understand where you are and where you want to go. Mistake number 6, not reflecting on what you really want holistically. What if the layoff wasn't a detour, but a divine interruption asking you to realign? Most people think of a layoff as a setback, but it can be an invitation to stop, to reassess, to actually get honest. Not just about your next job, but about your life. Are you building a career that fuels the life you want, or just one that pays the bills? This isn't about privilege. It's about alignment. Imagine what your life would be like if your career aligned with who you are, what you do best, and actually fueled the life you want. At Next Success, we support all ages and stages through career transitions, from students exploring majors or careers to job seekers actively searching or reimagining their next move to professionals committed to self-awareness and leadership growth. Stay connected and explore what's possible at nextsuccesscareers.com and follow Next Success Method on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. You're listening to Your Next Success with Dr. Carolyn Sangal. Let's continue the journey to your authentic success. A client named Michelle came to me 6 months after her layoff. She'd been doing contract gigs to stay afloat, but she was exhausted. She decided to learn more about herself, and she took the Highlands Ability Battery and then proceeded with the Don't Waste Your Talent coaching. She wanted to create a life vision and then a vision for her career that would fuel the life she wanted. Through this focused process, she then understood why her last role had been so incredibly draining. The work she did routinely wasn't well suited for how she was wired, what she did best, or what gave her energy. Her role was counter to her natural abilities, and while she could do it, it took her a significant amount of time, effort, and energy, and then she had nothing left for herself, her family, or her friends. The layoff hurt, but because of it, she went on a journey of self-awareness and reflection, and it was the first time she felt free enough to design a career that matched who she actually was. She eventually landed a hybrid strategy role closer to home at an organization she believed in, and she told me, "It pays slightly less, but I sleep better, laugh more, and I am not crying before logging on." The job you lost wasn't your purpose. It was one chapter. Take the time to ask what you truly want before you rush to recreate the past. Mistake number 7, giving up. What if this low point isn't the end, but the moment your next chapter starts to rise? Some people spiral into inaction, and they say, "I'm too old. The market's too competitive. I'm just not cut out for this anymore. Maybe I should just take whatever I can get." Listen, grief is real. But giving up isn't peace, it's quiet despair. Robert was laid off from a senior role, and 18 months passed. He applied to dozens of jobs half-heartedly, got no traction, and eventually he stopped trying altogether. By the time we talked, his confidence was paper thin. But we didn't start with jobs. We started with identity. Who was he? What mattered now? What legacy did he want to leave? That work reignited something in him, and he applied to 3 roles that actually matched his fire, and he landed one within 6 weeks. And when he started that job, he sent me an email and said, "I didn't realize how much I had stopped believing in myself. Thank you for reminding me who I am." You don't need to be fully confident. You just need a little courage to take the next step, and then the next, and then the next. We've covered a lot today, and if you saw yourself in one or maybe all of the mistakes, breathe. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're human. And when humans experience something as jarring as a layoff or an unexpected transition, we try to fix it fast. We chase productivity. We crave control. We make moves, any moves, just to stop the spinning. But now, you know what's really happening. You see how survival mode disguises itself as diligence, and you see how urgency tricks you into repeating what's safe instead of discovering what's aligned. You see that the advice you've been given, apply more, do more, hustle harder, wasn't designed for someone like you. No one told you your resume isn't the first step. 100 job applications won't lead to clarity. Networking can backfire if it's led by fear. Your language holds power, and people can feel your shame, even when your words sound polished. And sometimes, the worst moment isn't a detour. It's an invitation to design something new. So let me offer you a new path, a moment to pause, to recenter, to tell the truth, first to yourself, then to others. To choose your next move with alignment, not anxiety. Because this is what most people skip. This quiet, powerful space, in between, where you stop trying to return to who you were and you start becoming who you're meant to be. Okay, quick recap. The 7 most common mistakes after a layoff. Number 1, resume rush revision. Updating without reflecting and reinforcing the version of you who just got laid off. Number 2, panic applying. Mistaking motion for momentum and wasting energy on the wrong opportunities. Number 3, desperation networking. Leading with fear instead of value and creating disconnection. Number 4, getting shady or shaky. Oversharing, underexplaining, or sounding sketchy about what happened. Number 5, crowdsourcing confusion. Taking advice from people who love you but don't understand your goals or your gifts. Number 6, skipping self-reflection. Rushing into the next thing without asking, what do you actually want now? And number 7, giving up. Believing this low point is the end instead of the invitation to rise. If this episode resonated and you're ready to stop spinning and start rebuilding, be sure to grab the workbook linked in the show notes. It'll help you reflect on what happened and what you want to do next. And if this made you think differently, feel seen, breathe a little deeper, hit follow, share it with a friend, and stick around. Because this season, we're going to dig into what actually works, how to tell your story with power, how to rebuild your confidence, how to attract aligned opportunities instead of chasing approval. You deserve more than a job. You deserve your next success on your terms. You're not starting over. You're starting from experience. You may feel like everything has changed, but from where I stand, you are not at the bottom. You're at the beginning. And now, you don't have to hustle for your worth. You don't have to chase someone else's vision. You don't have to do this alone. You've got truth. You've got tools. You've got time. And you've got me in your corner. Take a breath. Take your time. And when you're ready, let's build what comes next. Keep going. You're not done yet. Thanks for listening to Your Next Success with Dr. Carolyn Sangal. Remember, authentic success is yours to define and includes aligning your career to support the life you want.